Not everybody's an entrepreneur, Gary Vee. Stop making people quit their job. Okay, they were doing fine. They had benefits. They're gonna start a few businesses, and they're gonna realize that it's more than what you actually. It's a lot of work.
That dude was about to have the white picket fence and everything.
Yeah,
and
you just can't think it. You know what I mean?
Quit and go be, dancing on TikTok. One time, I thought the universe was gonna end.
Okay, elaborate on that. Why did? How old were you? This is actually
no. This was like a couple of years ago, and this is why.
Hold on.
Well, peep this.
Hold on.
All right.
Hold on.
I'm explaining to you. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Before we get into this, okay.
Yeah, I don't like to waste my time thinking about clothing. I don't know why.
Who the fuck you think you are over here? This guy thinks he's fucking. What's it? Who did
Steve
that?
Jobs.
Fucking Steve Jobs over here.
Steve Trabajo.
This fucking gay.
Steven Trabajo.
Steven Trabajo.
Yeah. No, dude. So check this out.
Okay.
We're going to talk about universe. We're going to talk about cosmos. We're going to talk about shit like that. But to me, it's interesting that I have a connection of what the universe is with what conscious is. Right?
No one knows what consciousness is. What are you talking about?
Well, I mean, the way I see consciousness is like we're trying to lock in a definition, like we were trying to lock in a definition of what a hand is. See what I'm saying? You don't know where to split it.
Okay.
You don't know where the hand ends and the wrist starts.
Yeah, you were saying that.
Right?
Were you saying that after the podcast?
No, in the last podcast, I believe we were talking about it.
Towards the end, you were saying that if I was to ask you to cut your hand off, you wouldn't know where your hand begins and where your hand, or to cut from your wrist or whatever, to cut your wrist off. You wouldn't know where your hand begins and your wrist starts, right?
Yeah.
I feel like an orthopedic doctor would feel otherwise. But anyways, but jokes aside, interesting thing to think about. What does that pertain to the universe, like when it comes to consciousness?
Well, to me, it's like what the universe is
consciousness experiencing itself.
Yeah, they have that whole niner shit, which is fine and dandy.
By the way, I love how you took this big existential idea and went, yeah. That's just it's just
I don't know, man.
I think corner.
Yeah, I just think that a lot of people want to sound really deep about shit. Where and this is coming from me.
Keep it simple, stupid. Yeah. I love that. Just keep it simple. Keep it simple.
Well, this is the thing. One time I thought the universe was gonna end.
Okay, elaborate on that. Why did? How old were you? This is actually
no. This was like a couple of years ago, and this is why.
Hold on. Wait.
Well, peep this.
Hold on.
All right.
Hold on.
I'm explaining to you. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Before we get into this, okay. The only people that think that the universe is gonna end is like evangelicals, like crazy people. By a couple of years, you missed 2012. So at this point, you're grasping for straws. A lot of people were. So a few years ago, you've never said this to me. I've known you for fucking years.
It's going to make a lot more sense. Okay. It's going to make a lot more sense.
Yeah, because right now, I called you wise on the previously on the podcast, and I'm really starting to regret that right now because you're telling me that you thought that the universe was going to end.
Well, peep this.
Not just the world.
No,
us,
the
not
universe.
Your world. The whole universe.
The whole everything that is.
Yeah, go on.
All right.
Why did you think this?
Because when you die, everything that is stops existing for you.
Interesting. You know what's so interesting about what you just said is that I knew you were going to say that to me. For some reason, I knew, in my heart.
You did the circle around being an asshole situation about knowledge and wisdom.
No. That's not what that was.
It's I knew you were saying, but you know,
it's because I've had that thought. Reiterate what you just said.
Well, think about it. Basically, when you think you're gonna die, or when you die in that situation, the universe ends for you.
I don't know where I saw this. It wasn't. I think maybe you did tell me this.
Yeah, because when I was telling you about cancer, I'm like, what is when you feel like you're dying? It's not that I asked you.
Correct. I was asking you. I was like, what was it like to?
Was a feeling? Yeah.
Yeah. What was the feeling? Because to me, everything in life is a feeling. That's how you can make everything relatable, no matter what, is by going through a feeling. And I asked you what it was like to the feeling of knowing that you have cancer, that you could possibly die and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And you realized that the universe was
ending. I said, it's it's like the end of the universe. If somebody tells you tomorrow that the universe is going to end, A lot of things that happen to you. A lot of people go, oh, I'm going to do whatever I want and go party. I'm like, no, you'll probably sit around stressed as fuck. You're not going to go out and be like, I'm going to go party. I'm going to go do all the drugs in the world to the end of the universe. No. You're going to sit around and think. You're going to be like, oh my God. You know what I mean? That's where you're going to be at. Realistically.
So what did you, so what makes you come to the conclusion today that, so you believe that the universe was going to end because you thought you were dying of cancer?
Yeah. So when you think you're going to die, to you, it's not death. It is the end of everything else. Because the world continues, everything continues, but you are the one who's, your consciousness and what you are is the thing that's disappearing. And to me, that's exactly as a whole fucking universe disappearing and everything that is and exists disappearing. It's the same exact situation for me. Not for everybody else, but for me. Right?
Yeah, I feel like you can write a whole book on that idea.
No, probably.
Like a whole idea on that, like
just a breakdown.
That the universe ending is not necessarily it physically happening. It's like when you die.
When you die,
the whole world ends to you.
Everything
that exists is over.
Yeah, when you're in a bed in a hospital, you're not gonna sit around and think.
Which
about
is
that
a
shit.
fucking crazy concept to even like think about. What do you got?
In terms of like, if you thought of yourself in the universe, there's 3 main points of importance. The universe begins. You then begin in the universe and you die, and then the universe ends. So after you're dead, I mean, that's the only last thing. That's the trilogy. That's the final thing that would happen. The universe would end. Well, if you count you living and then you dying as 2.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. I don't know. I like,
That's an interesting way to look at death. I would say to look at people dying and that it's like that.
Yeah, I mean, how else would you look at it? I mean, you really think about it, like, because I think you start looking at it from other people's perspective and shit. Like, you start going like you see other people die and you're like, oh, that person turned off. Like, what does that mean? What is it? What is that? That person is gone. So like that person right there at that moment, everything that is for them stopped being. So yeah. The universe is definitely going to end.
And it's so funny that we build, like, you're told in life, build your own world, build your own thing. And then, like, you build your own thing and then you get cancer.
It's like you have no choice but to build your own thing. Everything's all within your own head.
Everything's, yeah. And then everything you built just stops existing when you stop existing.
Correct. And it can happen any moment.
Do you think that's why humans, like, Matt asked me this one day, like his brother said, his brother asked him, he's like, why do you feel a need to be a comedian? And he's like, because, and Matt's immediate answer was because I want to be remembered. And his brother's response was, that's really interesting because I just want to be forgotten. And I think those two dichotomies of like, I'm be honest with you, I want to be remembered. I'm an ego. That's my ego. Like some people exist to be remembered. You know what I mean?
It has an importance to you of some sort. You know what I mean?
Like it brings, like, I don't know what it is. I don't know.
Well,
I can't tell you like why I want to be remembered.
Well, it's like saying this. It's like saying I like vanilla ice cream over chocolate. I don't know why I like vanilla, although I like chocolate. But you know what I mean? If you say it that way, I like this versus that.
Yeah.
You can't say, well, I like this because of all these reasons. You're never going to give a reason. You just have a preference.
Yeah.
And that just is what it is.
There's a genetic, like the nature and nurture of it. Like, why do you want to be remembered? Maybe because you weren't remembered as a child. There's the nurture side of that. Like, that's why you want to be remembered on a bigger scale. And then the nature side of it, like, you're someone who also would want that. Like, nature decides whether or not you can have something, and then nurture pushes how much you're going to have it, if that makes sense. So, like, there's some people that weren't remembered as a kid, but they don't want to be remembered as a person. They have a different nature than you.
Yeah, I thought it was fascinating that, like, his brother was just like, I want to be forgotten, and I can't rap. Like, it sticks with me. Like, I think about that shit a lot. Like, I'm like, I wish I had that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, everybody I encounter, you know what I mean? Like, I want them to remember me. It's so weird. Like I have this need like to be remembered, and to where that comes from, like maybe it is from like you know, I have two older brothers,
and like when you were younger.
I did though. That's the weird thing is that I had attention. Like I was loved. I wouldn't say I wasn't loved. Maybe I wasn't loved by my mom the way I wanted to, but like ultimately, like I don't know. It's really weird that like I have this need to like be an impact on people's lives, where like some people just want to be a dishwasher and they're okay with that, and that blows my mind fucking
That's
like,
even crazier to
that's
me. Yeah,
crazy to me. That like
I understand if you want to be a celebrity, and we live in a world where you see a lot of people
you get
out
to be
there
a star in your own world.
like doing all this crazy stuff and living this life and shit like that, and then you see some simple dude just doing this thing, and he's like, he likes doing that. He likes to just wash dishes. You know what I mean?
It makes me think about the meaning of life. I'm like, like the meaning of life is whatever you decide that meaning is, right?
Yeah.
Like, is that really? Because people have always asked, like, what's the meaning of life? And across the universe, it's like the answer is 42. You know, like at the end of it, like, you know what I'm saying, which is so funny. It's like it's 42. And they're like, what do you mean? That's what the universe. That's the meaning of the world. That's the meaning of life. It's 42.
Doesn't Space Odyssey?
Oh,
whatever? Space. Is it Space Odyssey 2000? What is that called? What's that fucking?
No, that's Across the Universe.
No, it's not Across the Universe.
Journey to the Center of the Universe.
Nah, it's like Space Odyssey or some shit. But look, it doesn't even matter. I know we're probably all wrong about that.
We're all wrong
I know
about
what you're
this,
talking about with the 42 and all that other shit.
Yeah, where the answer to like the ultimate question of the universe is like, what's the meaning of life? It's like 42.
Yeah.
It's like, well, what do you mean? It's like, that's just, it's weird, right? It's just 42.
Yeah. I feel like
I was just gonna say, as humans, we care about meaning, though. Like they're in. If you look at the universe as a whole, there is no such thing as meaning. We literally created a concept of meaning in our head.
We
to
created
come up
every
with.
concept.
That's what I'm saying.
Every concept. Period.
You told me about the guy in the Holocaust. What was this guy?
Okay, so I was literally going for that right off the top because to me,
this is fascinating. I love hearing this story.
When it comes to people, like, meaning is the most important thing. You know what I mean? They don't know it, but meaning is pretty much one of the most important things that fucking exist. So there's a guy, Viktor Frankl. Yeah, Viktor Frankl, yeah. And he fucking wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning. And what the book is a breakdown of logotherapy. Logotherapy is a type of basically like psychotherapy that breaks down people's problems by investigating the meanings and the things that basically are fucking with their lives. You know what I mean? He came up with a conclusion because he was a psychologist in the Holocaust. So he was working on this whole thing about meaning before the Holocaust started. And then the fucking Holocaust started. And he gets taken to a camp. He got moved around for a couple different camps. And while this guy's stuck in his fucking camp, you know, he starts noticing that people literally had nothing. They were living in an existential vacuum. Okay? So everybody basically
break that down. Like break down existential vacuum.
Everybody's living in a place where there is no reason for them to be. They had nothing. Everything that was them was taken away. Their hair, their fucking looks. They didn't look exactly the same. They literally got thin as fuck. They didn't recognize themselves in mirrors. You know what I mean? Like they became different people. They had no families. They had like all their kids and their wives got killed. Right? They're living every day. They wake up and they do hard labor, and then a bunch of them die on that day. And you're like, okay, they die, and you kind of carry on. See what I'm saying? So they lived in this fucking in a really, really dark situation, but they still found ways of laughing and, you know, being happy time to time. And his question was like, Viktor Frankl was like, yo, why are these fucking people so like, why don't you wake up and just kill yourself? Right? Why not? Why don't you just wake up? If you're going to do hard labor till you get killed, why don't you just kill yourself? Right? So some people did take that position. They did. That's exactly what they did. He actually explains it in his book. He says, when you see somebody smoking a cigarette, that person's going to kill themselves.
Wait. Hold on. There's more to that. When you see somebody smoking
a cigarette, that's why I say a cigarette.
Yeah, one whole cigarette.
Correct.
Because usually, what's the situation?
You
share
split it. You split it between like 6 people twice.
Correct.
Yeah, you can smoke between 6 people, turn it off, and then another day smoke between 6 people with a cigarette. It was worth a thing of food, so people would not want to give up their food because it's such little food. You know what I mean? So there was all this shit going down. So basically, like, all these people are basically in a situation where they have no actual reason to live, but some of them did continue living and continue to try, continue to move forward. It's like, why would you do that if you literally have nothing, right? He sat there and wrote this logotherapy while seeing this, you know what I mean? And came up to a conclusion that you can treat certain things. He says it doesn't work for everything, but when it's issues of meaning, like psychological issues of meaning, you can you can break it down with what do you call this? When it's two sides to the shit, like the reverse side of this shit. Like basically here, like his therapy works like, oh my God, I don't have the word for it right now. But basically they use the opposite, paradoxal. Okay, so it's like a paradoxal psychology. They use the opposite to try to fix the situation.
Okay.
See what I'm saying?
Inverse?
No, paradoxal.
Okay.
Literally paradoxal. Yeah, they use paradoxal, basically a paradoxal psychology. So what he would do is like somebody comes in and says, look, like my wife died. I have nothing left. Some guy, he goes, my wife is fucking gone. My child is gone. I'm just living my life. I have nothing. The Holocaust is done. I walk out of this place. I literally have nothing left. Nobody pities me because you say, hey, man, the Holocaust was horrible. It's like, yeah, I mean, it was pretty horrible for us out here, too. They were dropping bombs.
Yeah.
So there was no empathy. There was no family left. There was no nothing. So you're just roaming the streets. And this guy's like, I just should kill myself. I don't know what I'm doing here. What's the fucking point? He has a problem of meaning, right? He didn't understand that his suffering had a meaning to it. So this is where the paradoxical part comes in. His suffering comes from losing his wife and everything that losing his wife, losing his daughter, right?
He couldn't see the meaning in the loss.
Correct. He worked for all this stuff and then lost everything. He did his whole life without meaning. He went through all this suffering without meaning. But the explanation that this guy said was like, well, you lost your wife. You're going to die too. And he's like, correct. He goes, so you died first. Like, I mean, your wife died first instead of you. Well, if you would have died first, how would your wife lived?
Oh, so he's posing the question like,
what if it was the other way around?
Your wife to be doing what you're doing right now?
Correct. So he goes,
or moving forward.
Yeah. So right now, if all that suffering that you're going through has a meaning to it, then you can actually justify your suffering and not feel horrible about it. You can justify that you're living as like a homeless guy by yourself that's lost everything that you've ever had and cared about, right? But understand that you're doing it so that your wife didn't go through that or your child didn't see their father die and then struggle through life the way he's doing it right now. So every day that he suffers and can't get food or whatever the situation might be, that person is suffering for their family.
Oh, that's interesting. That's almost like like imprinted trauma through like epigenetics and stuff like that. Like I think you have one of the meanings in life is that you have an obligation to do better than the people that brought you here. Like that's giving your life a meaning. Whether and that could be
it could be one of them.
That could be but like doing a little bit better. You know what I'm saying? Right. Just a little bit better.
Yeah, it could be.
Whether
that's the thing. You can pick your meaning.
That's what I mean.
Everything could be. You know.
That's what I mean. You know what's so funny? When I was touring and we were doing fucking sold out shows everywhere and stuff like that, and this is what made me realize that happiness isn't the thing that you do. Happiness isn't a goal. Happiness isn't attaining anything. It's not. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. The more money you get, it's not going to feed your soul. You know what I'm saying? It's just going to allow you to be like, oh, I don't have to worry about bills anymore, but I'm still sad inside. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't have to worry about, oh, I got a nice car. I remember when I didn't have a good car and I struggled to get on the bus. It's almost like that struggle stopped you from seeing like all the real problems that you like had and stuff like that. And like it made me realize that I'm like, happiness comes from within. Like it's not what I do, and I had no meaning. Like when I'm doing sold out shows and I don't have $1 after any of those shows because we had to spend everything on getting out here to this trip, and I don't have $1 to buy myself a beer.
Yeah, you feel pretty
it kind of feels like, what the fuck was that show for?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what was the meaning of me coming out here to Cleveland? What was the meaning of me coming out here over here if everything is just a negative? Everything ends up being like not good enough. You know what I'm saying? And it ends up being not worth it. And it made me not like comedy. You know what I mean? It made me hate like what it become and stuff. Well,
yeah,
like that.
You have to know why you're doing it. But because honestly, that's even backwards. Like even the
I had to figure that out. I had to figure out why I love comedy. Like, do I really love it? Like, how much do I love it? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, you have to, because you can make a bunch of money with it. You can be completely broke with it, but you have to understand why, like, You have to understand like why you're doing it and what you're getting out of it, kind of. And
it's
if
not money.
Is it the money? No, that wasn't for the money.
It was never for the money. No. Yeah, I thought it was for the money because I'm doing the shows.
No, that was your search for meaning back in the days. You weren't a comedian. You didn't know what the fuck to do. And then when you decided you became a comedian, then you focused everything on that. And everything else that wasn't towards that made you miserable. That's your search for meaning. Whatever you're doing that's not looking for meaning, fucking miserable.
That's so funny. And then when I found the meaning, when I was like, oh, it's comedy, I was like, oh, wait, my life is unhappy.
My life is a comedy.
Yeah, my life is a fucking tragedy at the end of the day. You know what I mean?
You know what's the easiest way to find meaning? Through suffering. There's tons of ways to do it. Suffering is the easiest way to find meaning. Once you suffer and you have something, a reason why you're suffering, that's where you find meaning.
Yeah, I do believe that. I do believe. You know what's funny? But then suffering's interesting because in I read the book like Be Here Now by Ram Dass and Richard Alpert, former Harvard professor. He the book Be Here Now, like it tells you about suffering, that the only way you suffer is through desires, through wanting something. You know what I mean? And how do you not want is by being present. Like if you're always present, you never desire anything.
That's a super like Buddhist concept.
It's the concept. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Is that if you're always present, you will never desire something. So like when your heart's broken, for instance, like for me, where it connected with me was like when your heart's broken, you know what I mean? When that's broken, and what do you want to do? I just want to talk to that person. I just want these things. You know what I mean? I want to hear from them. I want to connect with them. I want to be around them. You know what I mean? When your heart's broken and you've broken up and stuff like that. But if you don't want those things and you just go, oh, look at the weed, or look at this fan.
Yeah.
Look at this. Look how cool the world is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Which kind of mushrooms makes you do, which made me think. It was funny. I was talking to a friend of mine and like they were telling me like they don't have respect for like psychedelics. Like they don't have respect for it. They're like pussy. Kaba. Fucking just deal with that shit internally. You know what I'm saying? Like, which like understanding. I respect that you went your whole life and you didn't need that shit. But I needed a push. Like I needed mushrooms to teach me and LSD to teach me about myself, because I never looked inside until I fucking did mushrooms or like acid, and I was like, well, you're kind of fucked up and you're crying at the end of all of this, but you're gonna be okay. You know what I mean? Like it helped me understand that like all my things that I was like afraid of, it was okay. You know what I mean? And like it's really interesting. Like I want to ask you, like, what do you think about that? Because like it threw me aback because I respect this person's opinion. And the thing is, I know what they've been through, and the fact that they did it without extracurriculars, you know what I mean? Without that little nudge, you know what I mean? But drugs in my life have always been like, when I did acid with you, fucking changed my life when I was 19 years old.
Yeah. Overnight.
Fucking, I overdosed.
Overnight,
yeah, I overdosed on MDMA at a fucking wedding with fucking one of my ex-girlfriends. Fucking, I realized I didn't breathe. That's when I realized, I was like, oh, I don't breathe. And you know what? I do meditation breath work. I do like meditating breath work now. And it's one of the big concepts in my life. I take cold showers now and shit like that by just through breathing and all this shit. And it's really fucking weird that like for someone that like, fuck that. I didn't need that. Mind over matter. I respect that too. But then for me, it was like, I needed a little kick to be like, yo, like look inside, like, hey, this is you. You know what I mean? But like, what are your thoughts from someone who like, you won't touch it ever again, right? Like psychedelics, anything, any form of it, right?
Yeah, I'm not interested.
Yeah, MDMA, nothing.
Nah, not interested.
See, that's what I'm saying. So like, what do you think now? Like, do you think if someone needs a nudge, like, you know what I'm saying? Like they should use it. You know what I mean?
Look, when people ask me,
like therapeutically, yes, what I'm saying. Like, how when do you feel about it? You got a fucked up situation.
Well, I mean, sort of yes and no. Yeah, at one point, but not, but I learned I had so much more positive out of it. You see what I'm saying?
Meaning, you found meaning in the shit that fucking
I found
made
it
you
super.
not talk
Well,
for
it's
6
super.
hours.
It's super interesting. It's fucking. You know what I mean? Like you learn a lot about yourself. You learn about other people. You kind of There's a lot to psychedelics. It's interesting. It's the way I always explain it is like, all right, if you break your brain basically, and then you kind of figure out what's in it, and like what's like when you're putting it back together, you're like, oh, okay, I get it. I feel this way because of that. You know what I mean? Like, So you learn a lot about yourself and shit. And I would tell anybody who's like, hey, should I do psychedelics? I'm like, shit, at least once.
That's what I mean.
I
Like,
fucking
yeah,
at least
so
once.
you would still be like,
Yeah.
yeah, try it.
Yeah, because I mean, even like people that like pre and post and shit like that, they're like different people. And they don't have to fucking do that shit 24/7. But when they do that shit, they come out and understand things a lot different. They're way more open-minded.
What was it like having the flashback?
Having a flashback, like suddenly tripping again. out of the
Yeah,
blue?
I'm not gonna lie.
It's super
I've been
weird.
dying.
To have a flashback?
Oh, dog.
No.
Like,
No, because
listen.
no.
It started happening.
No, once it happens, it breaks everything. You think it's like, I'm chilling, I just got a trip without fucking doing any drugs. Dope. No, it's not that. It's not that. It's like suddenly you have,
Look at the smile.
ready?
Oh.
Suddenly you have the worst feeling of tripping at work. You're working, you're doing stuff. Like a normal human being. You could be driving and you start hallucinating. Imagine that shit.
Oh.
You're in trouble. It's not fun at
I
all.
never thought about it. Like
Yeah,
that.
it's not fun at all.
You see how naive I am? You see
Yeah,
how
you just gotta
naive
put,
I
you're like,
am?
it's gonna be awesome. You're like, yeah.
Then I'm over here.
Yeah, like
wait,
no, it's not awesome at all.
terrified.
Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like you have that situation, and then on top of that, and then it starts happening when you smoke all the time. So then it fucks up smoking. So then suddenly you can't really smoke. You're like, I smoke. I start feeling like I'm tripping, and it's just the worst thing. I don't want to smoke anymore. See? So you don't want to get in. You don't want to get into that situation where you're just like, yo, fuck all this. And the crazy thing is, I know people that do like that done shit like 1,000 times and they're perfectly fine. And if I do it a handful of times, and I'm like, all right, I'm fucking good. Like, you know what I mean? Like I feel all fucked up. All right, I'm done with this shit. And then that's it. And eventually it goes away and you're fine. But you know, it took a long ass time for things to like straighten out. You know?
Yeah, because I remember you didn't smoke for a while.
Mm-hmm.
You
I like
became
stopped smoking.
vegan, and that really.
Well, that
bothered
was
me.
just for vegan. Oh well, for a little bit, but that's just because I like.
vegetarian.
Yeah, because it's better. But yeah, man. Yo, you want to hear some dark shit, bro? You want to hear the darkest shit I've ever heard? I don't know if you can handle it. But
Yeah,
you tell me.
well, no. What was it? Was it the universe? Is the rotting corpse?
Nah,
or
not
what?
that one. Fuck that.
Oh, it gets
noise.
darker than that.
Way darker.
What?
Way darker. Are you sure though? It
I
fucked
don't
me
give a
up a
fuck.
little bit.
I ain't got nothing but time.
Already? All right.
I'm all about like having thinking about shit and like.
Well, that's a problem because if you think about it, that's when it gets bad. Ready?
Oh wait, is this gonna give me anxiety?
Possibly.
Okay,
Ready?
yeah, like chill out, man.
Like-
what you been learning, dog?
Like, because of our age and where we're at in life, The
not this fuck.
him too, even worse. Yeah.
What?
The worst things that are ever going to happen to you in your life probably haven't.
Haven't?
Correct.
I've been through a lot.
And you haven't been through shit.
Okay.
Once you get to a certain age, you lose all your friends. They die off.
Okay.
A lot of horrible things happen to you in life, but they still haven't happened because you're so young.
You know what's so funny? My grandmother the other day, she goes,
Is that a fucked up concept though?
well, listen, like, my grandmother the other day.
Bro, that shit keeps me up, bro.
Okay, my grandmother the other day, dude, she looks at me and she goes, you know, the older you get, it's just all bad news. You know what I'm saying? Like, I found out so-and-so died the other day. I found out so-and-so died the other day.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I guess if you look
Bro,
at
imagine you know somebody for 40, 50 years and they fucking die on you. And you're just like, you're older. You're just so heartbroken about it. But you're literally getting numbed out from all this fucking horrible shit that happens to you. I'm not saying that you're going to feel that same panicky feeling when these horrible things, like knowing that something bad's going to happen to you. You're probably going to eventually like fucking, it's like the cancer thing. When you're sitting around with cancer, eventually so many doctor visits and so much shit that you go through, eventually you just numb out to it. You're just like, you can be naked in a fucking office, a doctor's office, you know what I mean? And just be completely comfortable about the fact that you're just sitting there naked because you're a piece of meat and people are working on you. You know what I mean?
You know
It's
what-
that dark.
dude, that shit. That
You
shit
just numb out. It's horrible, but it numbs out.
That just fucked me up right now. Because now I'm thinking about.
I
like,
told you, it
Like,
fucks
like
me
now
up,
I'm
bro.
thinking about like, you know what I'm saying? Like the death of a child.
Yeah.
Like if you have a kid and then next thing you know, fucking it drowns in your pool in the back, like due to
Just,
an accident while you were at work.
but
You know what I'm
just
saying?
horrible
or like,
things
or like
happen
you
all
took
the
your
time.
eye off of it for 1 second, boom, a car hits your fucking kid.
Yeah.
Like like there's so many things that you're absolutely right. Like the worst things in your life have not happened to you yet.
Correct.
Because you're so young. You know what I mean? Like my cousin died or whatever. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like that was pretty.
And
awful.
that's pretty fucking horrible.
That's pretty
right?
awful. That was pretty awful.
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
But like that hasn't been the worst. I'm not gonna lie. By the time we got to my grandfather and we got to my uncle, like by the time we got to my uncle, actually my uncle one fucked me up. But like by the time we got to I remember my grandfather died and like my grandmother already, one of my grandmas already died, and I was like, yeah, it's my grandpa, it's fine. I shed a couple tears and I was like, at that point I was just like,
he's older.
Yeah,
and I've already been through a bunch.
Like I just saw him. I spent a lot of time with them, so like I didn't feel like, you know what I'm saying, like I didn't get anything out of it. You know what I'm saying? Which is ironically, like my grandfather told me, like, so funny when you talk to somebody at the end of their life. My grandfather comes to the United States almost like knowing he's having problems with his medication. He's like has lung issues. So my father basically is like, yo, your grandfather's coming to go to the hospital here to find out what's wrong with him. And we set it up. And if you guys don't know this, a little life hack, if you're trying to get into the hospital real quick and get admitted really quick, say you have a heart issue. So my dad drives us. Listen, I'm
pain in my chest.
Tengo pain in my chest.
Yeah.
So what's so funny is that my dad's like, yo, when we go to the hospital, he's like, we're gonna pull up to the emergency room exit. Okay. He looks at my grandpa and in Spanish he tells him, he's like, all right, as soon as we pull up, Franco, you're gonna run out into the lobby and run out through the emergency doors and go to the security guard and be like, we need somebody outside. And he's like, Grandpa, he looks at his dad, he's like, Dad, I need you to slump over and act like and hold your heart. Stop.
Death hacks.
Dog, I swear to God. He ain't had no heart issue. He had liquid in his lungs from medication and shit like that. That wasn't the problem.
Pain in my chest.
Yeah, he got pain in my chest.
Oh, my chest.
And so fucking I run into the hospital. Fucking my grandpa runs out. So like I have to spend time with him because I'm the translator.
Yeah, this is
my dad has to go back to work. It's when you're an immigrant child, people don't talk about this, but you're basically,
that's your position.
That's your position. Translate everything. I need you to call a landlord. You
do all the shit for your school, everything. You do it all yourself, all the paperwork, everything.
She like when the teacher is like he's been doing really bad in school. She said I've been doing really great in school. We're like, Franco, why does she look mad right now? And I'm like her stomach hurts, she said. She gotta go to the bathroom. That's why she. Anyway, so I remember like I got to spend a lot of time with my grandpa, like in the hospital and shit like that, and like I got to see like a catheter get put into his fucking penis and stuff like that, and him explained to me that he goes, I have a thin penile hole, so like this happens to me when I was a kid. Fuck. And I looked at him and I looked at the guy when he's greasing up this fucking tube that he's about to stick in his dick, and I look at my grandpa and I'm like, there ain't no smaller tube, dog. That's the tube, dog. And had to fucking hold his hand as they stuck a catheter in him and just like it was awful, dog. But I got to spend all this time with him, and it's so funny. It's like he knew he was dying, and he started telling me like a whole bunch of stuff like that I don't think he's ever said to anybody, because it was just me and him hanging out. Like he told me that like, oh, I cheated on your grandma like the whole time, like a lot of time we were together. He's like, I was on the road a lot.
He's like, I was bored.
Yeah, he was like, I was bored. He told me a story about I had sex with this woman in a hammock.
Nice.
I'm like,
that
what?
must be uncomfortable, no?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't ask questions.
That shit falls, bro.
I just seen his dick, so I was just like, I seen enough.
You're already traumatized.
Yeah, I'm like, that's grandpa dick. Like, what the fuck? Like, so he just started confessing like all these things, and like the things that he was like regretful about. Like he was like, yo, I didn't want to hurt your grandma. You know what I'm saying? Like I was just a young man. I was on the road, and like I've never told my grandma this. Like he confessed a bunch of shit, like tons of stuff. Like he even taught me how to cheat. He goes, listen, when you cheat and stuff like that, you always show up with roses. You know what I'm saying? Like flowers and shit. That's why they keep them like oblivious and stuff like that.
That's,
you know what I'm saying?
Women know that.
Like, I know. I tried to tell him, I was like,
but he's dying. He's not gonna cheat on anybody anymore.
Yeah, I was like, bro, I was like, we way past that, son. And so, bitches know that game, grandpa. He's like, I'm like, grandpa, bitches know.
Like, you don't know.
Yeah. But it's just really funny that like just the way he was speaking and like almost like he knew and stuff like that his life was gonna be over, and like he started just confessing like, you know, like how he fucked up in life and like all this stuff. Like I remember he had my grandmother like punished. Like she was punished. Like she's like she didn't do what I wanted her to do for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like every time she calls, she's like, "Can I talk to your grandpa?" My grandpa would be like, "No, oh no, today no."
Wow.
And she'd be like, "Oh, okay,
Pretty
all
fucked.
right." Dude. He was a fucking asshole. You know what I mean? Like, but like it's funny like how he's like telling me all this shit and like how he was raised and like all this stuff, and then like it's just wild, man. Like how when you get to the end of your life, you just have like these realizations. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Of like you know, like which they say men start to get more estrogen in their body, so they start to become really sensitive, and it's like a side of my grandpa I'd never seen because he was a man's man. He was like he killed 4 people in his lifetime.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? I told you those stories. You know what I'm saying? He was a badass motherfucker, dog.
Yeah.
And like at the end of his life, he was just like, "I'm sorry. Like I fucked up. I'm leaving your grandma with like this fucked up house situation." She's like, "I know." He's like, "I know what the fuck I did." He goes, "And now she's got to eat that shit, like your uncle and like all these people." And like it's just so interesting. Like I wonder if you what happens then in like life, like where like you just like you ever see an old person just sitting down and just staring off into like nothing, and they just spend hours like just sitting there. What is it about that? Like, do you think they're thinking about everything that they've gone through?
I don't even know, man. Maybe their brain's just not processing shit like it used to. And straight up. Yeah, because you wanna sit there and think like in your head that it's like your brain inside of an old man, and the body just got old, but the brain is still young. Like
this
it's not what's happening.
This is not what's happening.
Then
I'm like, they're playing back the movie of their life and going.
And they're like,
"Oh, good times."
Nah.
They're playing back their trauma.
They're just sitting around thinking about little shit that's happening around them. Like
He's just going bird, bird,
water, wall. Yeah, bro. Bro.
That kills me. That kills me. You're like, "Oh, that's cute that you think."
It's like, yeah, you're just sitting around thinking. I'm telling you think it's your brain inside of like just your normal brain, like nothing else. That's like, what's his face? Yo, Penn. You know that dude from Penn and Teller? That dude from Penn and Teller said the smartest shit, one of the smartest shit I ever heard. He was so fat, right? He was like obese. He was a humongous dude. And he was like, this whole time, and he goes, as an atheist, because he's a super like open atheist, whatever. He goes, as an atheist, he goes, I don't believe in a soul. I know that it's my brain talking to my body. And I sat around thinking that if me being unhealthy doesn't affect my brain for whatever reason. You see what I'm saying? Because he's physically unhealthy, the shit he's eating and all this other shit. But he couldn't combine those two. And he's a smart ass fucking dude. You know what I mean? He tricks people for a living pretty much, you know?
That's what he does,
yeah. And he couldn't combine those two and think like, oh yeah, like my brain is getting damaged because of this. He goes, you know what I mean? And it's like, I'm thinking my body's fucked up and acting like that's not part of who I am as a person. But your body is who you are as a person, because if I can fuck your body up with drugs and it changes who you are as a person, then your body and your brain are they're the same.
They're one
shit.
and the same, yeah.
Correct. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's so fucking
But yeah, we separate them and that's why I always thought like the soul concept is a bad concept. You know what I mean? It's a scary concept. Like people think that their soul is what operates them. But I'm like, your soul is not what operates you. Your brain operates you, because I can take chunks of your brain out and make your soul act different. You see what I'm saying? But they don't put those together. They think that
we don't understand
your soul's your soul.
First of all,
and then your body is your body, which is different, but it's not.
We don't understand the brain. And this blows my mind, because people go to school for years, you know what I'm saying, to understand, neuroscientists, all this shit, right?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, the answer is, but we don't know to most shit. You know what I mean? Like, we don't understand why your brain at one point just goes stroke. It just decides to fucking burst blood vessels. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we understand like it's unhealthy eating sometimes, but sometimes a healthy person who's been healthy their whole life just shuts down. Their brain just goes like a fucking blotter sheet. Just you're done. Your left side of your body is not gonna work anymore. Sorry, all your memories and everything are completely gone. So if you had a soul, wouldn't your soul remember that? You know what I mean? Wouldn't your soul be like, yo, you know, which is interesting. I've never thought about that. I don't think of my soul. Like, I don't think that my body dies and then,
that's
like,
the
we
thing.
go
That's the thing.
floating
Is like
somewhere.
That's the thing. Is like even if you don't think about it, if the concept is put into society and it makes you,
It's in the zeitgeist.
and makes you think. You know what I mean? And like it's like somebody told you it real quick, and then that concept stays in you, and then later on you don't know why you believe that concept. See what I'm saying? You just know you believe it.
Yeah.
It's like that. Like remember when we have the conversation of like incest? Remember I was saying incest is a good way to test a person. Because if they can't tell you what's wrong with this, because they don't think about it, they just go gross.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
You did that.
Yeah, you know what I mean? That's what that's the thing and shit. Like, I mean, fuck, man. How can we bring this back to the universe?
No,
Everything
you were
that
talking
is.
about like the
Yeah.
worst things like in your life hasn't like happened to you, and like that's still like that's still fucking me up.
Mhm.
Like,
like when I heard that shit, it just never went away. I'm like, huh. It never fucking went away. And that's why I'm like, oh, that shit'll keep you up at night.
But at the same time, it's like the best things in your life haven't happened to you yet.
Possible.
If you look at it like that.
Possible.
You know what I mean? Isn't there balance in life? At the end of the day, you need to have the yin and the yang. You need to have you know, the existential, you know, like problems that like the good and the bad.
Mhm.
It just can't be like
Life's not fair. Let's just put it this way. So people are not gonna get the same cards. It just is what it is. It really fucking sucks.
What do you think about that? What do you think about life not being fair?
I mean,
Do you think that's fair?
Right? Obviously, by definition, no.
Yeah.
But
it just is what it is. Fair, unfairness. It is what it is.
no, you can make everything 100% fair as you can, but people are still gonna be born with different brains, different situations, different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Not everybody has the ability. Like, this is what upsets me about not upsets me, but it like not everybody's an entrepreneur, Gary V. Stop making people quit their job. Okay, they were doing fine. They had benefits. They're gonna go start a few businesses, and they're gonna realize that it's more than what you actually. It's a lot of work. You know what I'm
that
saying?
dude was about to have the white picket fence and everything.
Yeah,
and
you just can't think it. You know what I mean?
Quit and go be, dancing on TikTok.
And I feel like, in life we like tell each other, like, and like society tells us, like, you can be anything you want to be, which is like the falsest thing that you can be anything that your brain and you are capable of. Okay. Yeah. Like that's it. You can't be anything you want to be.
Yeah, like you can't be a little person and be a professional basketball player. It's just not gonna happen. I'm sorry.
Physically
you're done.
It's not gonna happen.
Yeah, it's not gonna work.
I can't be an astrophysicist. You know what I'm saying? Or I can't be Richard Dawkins or whatever, one of these motherfuckers that I can't be Neil deGrasse Tyson. I'm not gonna be him. I can't. I don't have the brain for that. I just told you on another podcast that I thought that when Tim Allen was on one TV, like he couldn't, like he was on the other channel, and that blew my mind. I'm never gonna be a scientist. You know what I'm saying? Like, no. Yeah, bro, I'm never gonna be a scientist. But I don't know, man.
You know what's funny? Like you mentioned Neil deGrasse Tyson. That's another thing that I found really, really interesting. He had said something that's another thing that made me go, oh shit. He said, and this actually pertains to consciousness in the universe. He says, we can infinitely go upwards, but there's a possibility that we can infinitely go downwards too. See what I'm saying?
Well, hold on, up or down, or like, what do you mean by like in what
yeah?
Sense
I'm
of
giving
the
it
universe?
basic ass concepts, but let's make it like the universe can expand out infinitely.
That's what's happening right now.
There's infinite space out this way, and also infinite space in this way.
That's what I think the brain is.
Do you know what I mean?
That's how I feel the brain is. Like we externalize brain and thought out here and stuff like that. We go and use our mouth and stuff like that, but I really think it's all like we're going like doing drugs. We're going back inside.
Yeah, and I mean, and even down to like molecules, like it's.
But what does that mean? What do you get from what he said there?
Well, first, space is relevant. Like, so you're looking at space by your size. What's important to you and your space and in your reality has a lot to do with the size of it. Like,
okay.
Do you see what I'm saying? So you don't sit around and like worry about individual molecules. But if those molecules were the size of planets or whatever the fuck, you might be more concerned about them, or you would talk about them more. You know what I mean? So basically, the idea of something being infinitely inwards is fucking crazy. I don't even know how that works. Like infinite space inwards. And that takes me to like Zeno's paradox, where Zeno's talking about how you can divide anything infinitely. because numbers never end.
You can break down.
Yeah, you can divide something by 2 forever, and you would break it down. And you can divide something forever, right?
Yeah.
Look at us, Ovilia. That motherfucker, he's a paradox. There you go, put the word again. He's a fucking paradoxical philosopher. He's known for his paradoxes. And he said you can divide something forever, and the space between you and I, technically, there's no space or there's infinite space. What is it?
Isn't
you know
that,
what I mean?
Isn't that a paradox? The universe is like the rotting corpse of God?
That shit is...
Because that means that God existed,
mm-hmm.
and now it's dying, and we're just like...
That guy's interesting.
Like what is that? What is that?
Hold on, I'm gonna break this shit down for you real quick, but this motherfucker...
Because that fucked me up too.
Yeah.
That fucked me up too, to be like the universe is just rotting, is just it rotting. Which I do believe that, like, if you look out into the universe, you know what I mean? If you look out into like the stars and everything, I always believe that we could be just God's toe jam. Like at the end of the day.
Well, that was
at the end of the day, we're just God has his foot on a footstool, and he has toe jam, and he's watching TV, and like we're just toe jams that created cars and like electricity. You know what I mean? Like,
well, dude, the guy that you're talking about, like I wrote notes on this guy because he was so trippy. It was the first time I heard of him.
Okay, yeah. Back to the universe is the rotting corpse of God.
Yeah. His name was Philip Mainlander. So Philip Mainlander. So basically, this is a guy.
He's a philosopher.
Yeah, he was a philosopher. He started out really fucked up because he was born from rape. So basically, his father raped his mom, and that's where he came to be. Since he was like the rape child, he was basically, he was just not the one that's loved, not the one that, so he had a really, really shitty life. He was around, he basically, with the 1873 stock market crash, he lost everything. His mom died on his birthday. He asserted that nothingness is preferable to being. So he noticed that life is suffering. And you can talk about, like if you want to avoid suffering, you can just kill yourself. That works too. See what I'm saying? If you want to avoid suffering, you can just kill yourself. So he believed that not being is just better than being.
That nothingness. Explain that. Elaborate on that whole, like,
he asserted that nothingness is preferred to being.
Because being requires is suffering.
Yeah, because being allows you to suffer. Being allows you to struggle. So basically, when you are being, you're basically thrown in the ocean and you're constantly paddling. And I mean, it might be easier for this fool over here, the fucking swimmer, but eventually even he'll get tired and fucking drown. So the idea is like, do you want to paddle the whole time, or you want to just stop and drown real quick and call it a day? So that's the way he saw it, and he believed that that God understood this too. That God understood, but God, that part of God is being. So you can't be the greatest being of everything, the ultimate being, and not be. That's impossible. So the next best logical step would be to break yourself down. So he would see it kind of like an idea of like the Big Bang is God breaking himself into fragmenting himself. So he can fragment himself to the point where that he basically doesn't exist. See what I'm saying? So God first of all knows that concept,
being. Imagine that what the universe is. Just sit there and think about this. That what the universe was God literally exploding itself
and dividing himself into as much as
because
it can.
It thought that it wasn't good enough as a God unless it was nothing. I don't know if
it's just like he doesn't like. Let's just put it this way: how boring does that have to be, though? Like you're like existing forever. Like eventually you want to stop existing, right? If God, the only thing God can't do is stop existing, is like. Basically, he's going to try to achieve the closest shit to it, which would be to fragment yourself or dilute yourself to the point where that's it. Entropy, which is something that happens naturally in physics. Entropy is basically, I shoot some cologne in here, it's going to spread out into the whole room.
Yeah.
Right? That's how cells work. That's how they eat.
That's
you know
how
what I mean?
Got here.
And that's how, yeah. So entropy. So
Evolution,
basically, if you break everything out, like everything is doing this fucking entropy shit. You know what I mean? You fucking die, you eventually break down and turn into nothing. So the way he saw it is God is basically breaking himself down into nothing, which would make sense as to why you don't hear him talking to you. Right?
Dog, that's crazy.
He's trying to die. He's over here fucking dying. And the best thing that you can
And what's
do,
funny is that the sun's dying. Everything in the universe. That's what
Correct,
they say. Like
slowly.
everything's dying. Everything.
eventually that's called heat death, is where everything basically goes into neutral.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's wild.
It's
So
a
go on, go on.
the heat death of the cosmos. So basically, like, the best thing that you can do to help God die is to just kill yourself. If you want, like, you want to help out God, he's trying to kill himself, and you're sitting around fucking living and doing your thing, just kill yourself too, because you're just wasting fucking time. So he's like doing the godly thing. He believes he went and killed himself.
And what's his name again?
Philip Mainlander.
And that's his concept. The universe is just a rotting corpse of God.
Correct.
And if you want to help God, you should kill yourself, because that's what God is doing. That is fucking insane, dude.
Yeah, silence the will of God. He says, like, God wants this he's willing this. This is what God wants. Obviously.
What year
Everything dies.
What year did this guy
1800s, like 18, like
like
what was that?
1880s?
where
like
was
the
he
late
born? He was born 1841.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting. It blows my mind that back in the day, people like thought of concepts that.
Oh, they were way better at it than now. Like now, the
Well,
good thing
back
is,
in the day, you ain't got nothing to do but fucking sit there and think about shit, dog. There was no TV. There wasn't no TikTok.
yeah, I
You know what I'm
mean,
saying? Fuck them bitches, dog.
dude, there's a lot of people really trying to figure shit out because science didn't exist. So when your science doesn't exist, everybody and their mother's kind of like just throwing shit in the wall and see what sticks. You know what I mean? Like for the longest time, they thought the Earth was flat. They thought that the universe surrounded the Earth, that everything spun around the Earth. The Earth is just standing still in one spot, everything's spinning around it. Like, you know what I mean? They didn't understand retrograde. Why the fuck are these things moving left and right instead of spinning in circles? So then they're like, oh, that's probably God moving things around. Like, they were trying to explain everything, and by trying to explain everything, they got a lot of shit wrong, which makes sense because they weren't able to test it. See, when you're not able to test something, you can just let it slide. And you can't let shit slide. You got to be like, is this testable? Which is, can we make an exam that will prove this right, or basically prove it wrong or prove it right? Or you know what I mean? Like, can we come up with something?
Prove that it works, yeah.
Yeah, something that we can sit and be like, okay, you got to come up with a conclusion. If this is true, then this should be true. If we did this test, that should happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, if gravity is real, it all falls at the same speed, then we should take things and throw them in a vacuum, take a leaf and a bowling ball and throw it in a vacuum where no air resistance is stopping it, and see if they fall at the same time. And you know what they did? They did that, by the way. They did that on the fucking moon. This guy went, took a fucking feather and took a bowling ball and dropped them side by side, and you saw him go.
On the moon?
I think it was on the moon, I think it was on the moon.
They could have just done that here, simulated it, right?
But you have no, because the wind and all that shit and everything affects, like, you have to have it in a vacuum. You have to have no air.
Yeah.
You have to have nothing
true.
stopping the feather from like
that's
the wind
so
holding
true.
the feather up.
But we also never went to the moon, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, of course.
What's up, Blake?
They did do that. Like they made a room a vacuum,
Mhm.
and they
You can drop.
on Earth they have done.
Yeah,
the,
they did it over here where they did a
test.
big vacuum.
Yeah,
They did that over there just as a representation. Like on the
Mhm.
moon, it's just like an homage to the people. They already knew it was true, but they just did it as an homage. It's like, look,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's interesting.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
super
yeah.
interesting.
Man,
But I don't know, man. I don't know. I think ultimately at the end of the day, nothing means anything. And
nothing's real.
Nothing's real. When I go to bed,
Yeah,
everyone goes to sleep with me.
I tell you, if you die tomorrow, everything disappears.
But that's
Ain't
what
that
that's what I
crazy?
that's what I think that that old age thing that they say that if you hear if no one's around to hear a tree fall in the forest,
Yeah.
does it actually make a sound?
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? Like if you stop existing, does the world still exist?
That's the
It does.
yeah, correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I died,
Yeah.
you guys were still
Philosophers were tackling that shit back in the days. That's
what that idea
yeah, like,
that if you
I think
died,
it's,
do you
like-
stop existing?
Yeah, I think it's a concept of heart solipsism. I think that's what it's called, where it's like, how do I know I'm not the only thing that exists in this world? Or how do I know? Or like last Thursdayism, which is just it's fucking funny. But basically, how do you know that the world wasn't created last Thursday? With all your memories and everything, just boom. You wouldn't be able to tell. You cannot prove that wrong. So it's something that's unfalsifiable, therefore not testable. Therefore, you can't you can't say it's real. You can't
But
believe
you can't
it's
say
true.
it's not though.
But so it lives in the situation of something that you just made up that isn't real, isn't not real. You know what I mean? Because you can't say it's not real because you don't know, but you can't say it's real because you don't know. But when people hear that, they take it as real.
What?
Yeah, when something's unfalsifiable and you just want to believe in something, you take it as real.
QAnon.
Which is fucking weird.
QAnon.
Yeah, fuck those people. I'm not even ending the podcast on QAnon, bro. Let me put it that way.
No. How much time we got?
Ah,
We're at 55 right now?
amazing.
What?
Amazing.
Get the fuck out
I say
of
we
here.
call it a day so this man can go and fucking put in work.
Put in what work, man?
Yeah,
He's gonna
look at
go fucking
him.
do a set. How much time are you doing?
15 minutes? 7?
7 minutes. You're gonna drive an hour to do 7 minutes.
For the love of comedy.
By the way, yeah, you really gotta
Yeah.
when people ask you and they go like why why do you do it? You know, what do you do it for? And it's like why do you keep on doing it? And it's like because we hate ourselves and we're masochists. It's the
Yeah.
real truth. Like this guy you could literally sit at home right now and do nothing, but you're gonna drive 2 hours there and back, okay, to do 7 minutes. And y'all wonder if we work hard or not, that we just up there telling dick jokes.
Pretty much.
We do. That's
Yeah.
pretty much it. And on that note, go fuck yourself.
ASAP.